been so much change. As charter schools now, we enroll almost half of the public school students in the district. We are certainly recognized as having some of the highest achieving schools. We have incredibly innovative and productive programs, ranging from our wonderful early childhood programs to our adult education programs, which are the envy of schools all over the nation and cities all over the nation, to our regular K-12 programs that are doing things like, for the first time, well, maybe not the first time, but the first time in a long time, sending significant numbers of students to college, sending students abroad for experiences that they would not ever otherwise have, giving students opportunities for internships and to shadow professionals. I heard a bit of a program this morning on NPR about the fact that, if I think I have this right, that a recent study indicates that schools in New Orleans and the District of Columbia have improved more than public schools in other jurisdictions in the country, and somebody wondered why that happened. Well, I could tell them because both cities happen to have very thriving charter school environments. It has been my pleasure to serve you during the time that I have been the chairperson of the Public Charter School Association. And as it has been my pleasure to serve you, it is also now my pleasure to turn over the reins to our new and our incoming chairperson, Shantelle Wright. Shantelle, would you come?
Oh, you're literally giving me
I am. Shantelle, I never had my own all those years. But I'd like to pass along the gavel to the chairperson, the new chairperson of the association.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
I am Shantelle Wright. Let me not get in trouble. I am Shantelle Wright. I'm the founder and CEO of Achievement Prep, and I am honored to serve in this capacity. Linda talked a lot about the changing landscape. Right now, I think our sector is in a very interesting place, and we have opportunity to really turn the tide about what's happening for us as member organizations in the association. And I plan to use this platform to help to move all of our vision forward and make sure that the children in District of Columbia get the best education they can. So I'm excited to do the work, and I thank you guys for your support, and thank you for Linda for your years of service and being in this work. And all of you who've been in here for like 18, 20 years, wow. Just wow. So my kudos to you all. So thank you, Ramon. I look forward to working with you and to make sure that you get some additional support and some more people and some more resources so that the association can do what it needs to do for its members. So thank you, Ramona, for your years of service, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much. We are fortunate to have a number of our dignitaries bringing greetings to us this morning, and Mayor Bowser's staff has informed me that she should be here at about 9:45, so we're going to kind of reverse the program. And by the way, the program books will be here very shortly. But I'd like to start with Don Seufer, who is Vice Chair of the Public Charter School Board and has agreed to come and say a few words by way of greeting.
Thanks, Ramona, and good morning. It's humbling. It makes me feel 18 years old. But because when I walk around and I look around the room, I see, but I also know exactly the benefits and what you do for children and students and youth and families across the city, and have done so. And I know and appreciate how hard and amazing work that is. So thank you. And I'm more than grateful for the chance to be of service. There's a ton going on right now in the city. These are really important times. You don't need me to remind you of that. On behalf of our PCSB chairman and my friend Darren Woodruff, I certainly bring you our greetings. You know our doors are always open. We look forward to hearing from you. We have any number of things in front of your schools right now for public comment. We would love to hear from you on the critical things that we're all working on together, the transition to the park and what that means in terms of all of us as a city and schools and accountability and how that works across the city is very important. There's any number of other initiatives that are high on your list and rightfully should be. So greetings, look forward, as always, to working together. Thank you for all that you do, and I look forward to being in touch if I can ever be of any help. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Don. We're also joined by the president of the State Board of Education, Jack Jacobson, and I'd like for you to come forward now, Jake, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And good morning. On behalf of the entire DC State Board of Education, I bring greetings, and my colleague Joe Whedon is here from Ward 6. I think you've got quite a few charters in your ward. The State Board of Education is also the home of the Ombudsman for Public Education, Joanna Smith, who is working with schools and families to resolve conflict, and it's the home of our Chief Student Advocate, Faith Gibson Hubbard. And Faith's job is to make sure that Joanna has fewer cases by figuring out with schools, with families, how we can solve problems earlier before they become conflicts. So we look forward to working with you all and being partners. The State Board of Education is very different than it used to be. We are working very hard to partner with charters, with the Public Charter School Board, and with individual schools to make sure that we're listening to you and doing what you need to be successful every day so that students can achieve the greatest things they can. We've also started a student advisory committee, which met for the first time last night. The student advisory committee has equal number of public charter schools and DCPS students on its team. And we're going to be working with the new student advisory committee of the Public Charter School Board as well, so that students across the city and across sectors can be working together and solving problems together. If there's anything you need, please contact me, Jack Jacobson, at the State Board of Education or our executive director, or any of your board members. We're here to help, and we want to make sure that you are successful so that our children can achieve. Thanks so much.
Thank you so very much. We're also joined by the State Superintendent of Education, HANSEUL KANG. Thank you so much for coming out, HANSEUL.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to see you all, and thank you so much for inviting me to join you for a few minutes this morning. I have been really excited at the start of this school year to be able to spend more time in classrooms, and so recently have been able to come out to Paul Public Charter School, to Friendship Chamberlain, to Mundo Verde, to Roots Public Charter School, and to Community College Prep yesterday, which was just fantastic. And it's been wonderful to get to see your students, your educators, and get to see all of you in action. And I look forward to coming out to actually each of your LEAs this year and getting to better see the range of approaches and the types of successes that you're experiencing, and then any areas of challenge where OSSE can be helpful. So really look forward to getting to spend time with each of you this year. As Don mentioned, I know that one of the biggest things on everyone's mind is the transition to park, and I've had the chance to talk with a number of you and your staffs over the last couple of weeks, and just wanted to share with you all my commitment to ensuring that OSSE is doing everything we can to communicate about what these results mean for our communities and our families and our educators, and to also supporting you all in any way we can. So just to speak briefly about this, the message that I've been sharing with people is to bring us back to sort of why we have transitioned to Common Core state standards, to these higher expectations for our students, and also why we have these then new aligned assessments. And I think that we know this reason, but sometimes we are so immersed in our work that we have to sort of pull ourselves back and remind people why we made this choice. And I think really the reason why is that we've seen too many of our students from DC and across the country go to college and find that they actually struggle in their first year coursework. See that our students get to college, and even if they've been doing well in high school are being put in remedial classes or just struggling in the coursework that they're in. And as we see that challenge, I think we in K-12 education have stepped back and said, why is this happening? Why are students who are succeeding in our high schools then struggling when they get to post-secondary education? And I think the conclusion we've come to is that we have not always set the bar high enough. We have not always been in enough communication with our higher education partners to know what that bar needs to be for our students to be successful. And so the thing that is unique about PARC is that it is designed in conjunction with higher education faculty, starting with that end in mind and then designing backwards from there. And so what I think is really exciting about PARC are there are three key messages that I've been sharing with people in my conversations. The first is that I think PARC presents a more authentic and fuller picture of student learning, in part because it is aimed with that bar in mind, it is designed with that bar in mind, and in part because of the way the test questions are designed to be more authentic and interesting for our students as well as more rigorous. So one great example that I share from the 7th grade CAS versus the PARC is on the 7th grade writing test, the question used to be, imagine a day on your perfect vacation. Imagine your perfect vacation. Describe what a day would look like. And on the PARC instead, the question is, you've just read 2 passages, one from the Count of Monte Cristo and one from Blessings. Just identify the theme from each of these passages, how the author has developed the theme, and compare and contrast those ways in which the theme was developed, citing evidence from the text. And we can see just a very different picture of the expectations we have from our students in that second example, and how much more closely aligned it is to the kind of work they're expected to do in college. The second key message I've been sharing with people is because the test is so much more rigorous and authentic, we can expect that scores will likely look different from what we've been seeing on DCACPC. And you all will be getting your LEA high school level results next week for review and for vetting on October 13th, and your 3.8 results by the end of October. And so we know that scores are likely to look different, but we also know that it's not because our students learned less, it's because this is a different type of assessment, it's been designed differently, and there's a new baseline that we're setting with our 14-15 results. And the third key message is we know that our students will improve from here. We saw it on DC CAS when we transitioned to CAS 10 years ago. We've seen it, I saw it in Tennessee, where I came from, where we transitioned to new and much more rigorous assessments in 2010-11. We've seen that our students can rise to those expectations and that our educators have been already preparing. You all have been preparing for this move, and we know we will improve from this baseline. So those are the messages that I've been sharing around PARC. We've also been thinking about how to help you all communicate with your educators and school communities. And so last Friday I was able to meet with a number of you and many more of your staff members and share some templates and tools that we've been creating that are then available for you to take, adapt, and work from, but provide a good baseline, I hope, for your own communications with your educators and your families. And so we'll be sharing all those tools via email and on a website, and you'll hear from me later this week with examples of those tools. And finally, just if there are other tools or resources you all can think of, additional messages, ways that OSSE can be helpful, please feel free to reach out and let me know. And finally, I really am so glad that you all had a chance to hear from Jack Jacobson. We appreciate the chance to work with the State Board of Education, particularly as you all identify policy barriers that hold back you or your educators in your work. We want to take those barriers on. And so one of the key issues, I think many of you are aware that we're working on with the State Board right now, is the idea of a state diploma for GED and NEDP completers, which is an issue that a number of the adult charter LEAs have raised for much considerable amount of time now. And so the State Board and OSSE, we're excited to be examining that issue closely, to be hearing from you all, and to continue to work towards that policy goal. So with that, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see everybody, and it's great that everybody's getting sustenance, because from my days of being a school leader, I was not so good at regular meals. Okay, that was supposed to be a bigger laugh line, but yeah, right, exactly, that it wasn't even a laugh. Well, I'm excited that that my boss is coming to speak, and I had not necessarily prepared remarks, but I'm always happy to talk with this wonderful group of people. I'm really excited about the cross-sector task force that we're launching. I'm really excited about I'm really excited to get the PARC results, even though I don't know what they're going to be, but I'm very pleased that we are on track to be taking a rigorous test that's really going to tell our kids what's up. and telling our adults what's up. I am really interested in, and I know that, that Superintendent Kang talked to you a little bit about Park this morning too, about how we can help the whole Washington community understand that we are taking a new, more rigorous test and helping to keep that conversation on track, because it's going to be surprising for folks to see low numbers. And unfortunately, it's a little bit complicated to describe the machinations of the education community's assessment challenges. Let's see, I'm excited about lots of things, but perhaps what I could do is, maybe there are questions in the room. In some ways, I feel like you're probably more interested in asking me questions than you are hearing me wax on about things you probably guess what I'm excited about. So why don't I take some questions, and I can tell the mayor's about to arrive too, so it might just be a few. Yes, Alice.
Jen, say a few more words about the cross-sector task force and when it might get started and doing.
Great. So for the LEA leaders in the room, you know that we asked for volunteers to apply to be on the task force, and we have all of those names and nominations both from individuals and from other folks, so really appreciate having those names. We also have gathered names from community members, and so the task force will be made up of educational leaders in the city, so I'm going to chair the task force. Superintendent Kang is going to be sitting on it, along with Scott Pearson from the PCSB and Kaya Henderson. And then we're going to have community members and LEA leaders. So you might hear more about it in moments. And I want to, I have really enjoyed working for the mayor for lots of different reasons. One thing that probably, I don't know, many of you in this room know me, so this might surprise you, but I have rarely worked for somebody who, when I've come to them with a series of ideas, say to me, I'm not sure this is bold enough. Can you think bigger? And so I have the great fortune to work for somebody who is really constantly asking us to challenge the status quo and what we know to be the old way of doing things or the former way of doing things, and not having a good enough reason about how this is going to help move our city forward, and specifically our kids forward, because we know that the way our kids do is the way of our future. Great. I'm going to turn it over to friend and colleague, Shantelle Wright from Achievement Prep.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for being here. So I have the distinct honor of introducing our mayor for our meeting this morning. Mayor Muriel Bowser brings a pragmatic, inclusive, hands-on approach and is committed to creating pathways to the middle class for all district residents. She campaigned on delivering a fresh start to the district, and that is exactly what she has done. Sworn in on January 2nd, 2015, as the district's 7th elected mayor, Mayor Bowser has made significant contributions to create economic opportunity throughout the district. Mayor Bowser has expanded the summer youth employment program to include residents ages 22 through 24, which added 1,000 jobs for youth for 2015. She extended the Kids Ride Free to Metro Rail, making it easy for students to get to and from school. Thank you very much for that. And added $100 million in the Housing Production Trust Fund to expand affordable housing opportunities, and she's made historic investments to end homelessness. With a keen focus on engaging residents and harnessing fresh ideas, Mayor Bowser kicked off her first budget with a series of budget engagement forums to obtain their input on the front end. With residents' feedback in hand, Mayor Bowser closed a nearly $200 million budget gap while investing in programs that expand opportunity for residents. As a native Washingtonian, Mayor Bowser earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in history from Chatham College and a master's degree in public policy from American University. On behalf of the DC Public Charter School Association and the charter schools in DC, we welcome you, Mayor Bowser. Good morning. Thank you for what you did. Good to see you, too.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. Are we on? Okay, well, good. I am real pleased to be with you this morning, and I want to thank Ramona and the association for the invitation. This is not the first time that I've addressed the association. It certainly won't be the last. I know that you've already gotten a chance to hear from part of our public schools team in HANSEUL and Jenny, who are doing a fantastic job and have really come in to hit the ground running. So I asked Jenny, are we taking questions? Because I know that they've given you my agenda, and you may have some questions for us. So I'll spend a little bit more time talking just about some basic things, and then I'll leave time, if it pleases the association, to take any questions that you have. So I have had a long experience working certainly on schools in Washington, D.C., and I think together we are really demonstrating progress in our city across both sectors. And I did a campaign across the District of Columbia talking about what we needed to do next. And it became very clear to me that the model of competition has worked to a point, and now we need to explore a model of cooperation. And that is exactly why it was important to me to recruit Jenny to be our Deputy Mayor for Education, who brings to the administration an understanding of what it has taken to start and build a successful charter school, like so many of you have done. And it was important to me that discussion about how the sectors would cooperate and support robust options across the entire city. And I thought that would be best led by somebody who actually ran a public charter school. And we've been right, because Jenny has added a knowledge to the discussion that is very important. And I hope what you understand as well is that she is there to listen and to be a voice for all children and families across the District of Columbia. So I think the cross-sector task force is already started, and we're very serious about the task force work in bringing forth recommendations that will improve the quality of public education in the district. So first, we want to make sure that the task force is focused on how we are improving family and student experiences. And Jenny will be focused on that across all of our schools. We want to create a framework for coordinating school openings and closings in facility planning, which is vitally important and also very complicated. The third is to figure out how we can more effectively share information across sectors. One of the most frequently asked questions I get is, what are the traditional public schools learning from the public charter schools? And are we implementing it? That was always the promise of public charter schools, that we would be able to innovate and test and figure out what's working and inform all of our public education. And so that is something that we want to make sure that we have a good answer for. Fourth, the task force will be charged with figuring out how we can promote enrollment stability. Because we all know that there's too much mobility within our schools throughout the year, and we need to figure that out. And we need to figure out the challenges that can only be solved through both sectors working together. How we increase graduation rates, how we better serve our special needs children, how we engage disconnected youth, and how we ensure that when our children graduate, that they actually have the skills that they need to succeed in work in college. So that is really the focus of the cross-sector task force. Jenny will be able to tell us when we can expect reports and changes. The thing that I've asked her to do is not meet for meeting's sake, and she's not that kind of person, and I know none of you are either. And to make sure that when we go into budgets or when we go into legislative cycles, that if we need to change anything, that the task force recommendations will be put into play. So that's where we are. And I'll leave some time to take any questions. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Don McGovern. I'm one of the at-large directors on the association. The association has one fundraising event
Okay, please let me know when it's going to be. I'll do my best to get there. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Excuse me.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Always a pleasure to see you.
My pleasure.
My name is HANSEUL, and I represent Community College of Crawford County. We're in that unique group of charter schools that serve adult populations. And we all feel like, well, first of all, we want to thank you, the council, and everybody for having us existing in the first place. We think we offer a unique opportunity to bridge some needs from adult education to workforce development. And so we're hopeful that as you all are thinking about how you want to make workforce development more viable in the district, that you will include charter schools in that thinking as bridges to 21st century knowledge-based economy jobs.
Absolutely.
So as you're thinking about how to do it and how it can happen, we hope that we can be a part of that conversation.
Well, we will keep that in mind. I will tell you this. I know that we have, how should I say this? I walked in on January 2nd knowing we had to make a lot of changes with workforce development and training. We spend, this is a conservative estimate, about $100 million across the government over various agencies and programs on training people. And we're not necessarily training them for jobs that exist, and we're not necessarily training them well. And then we have a whole population of people whose literacy and numeracy skills don't even make the training that we offer effective for them. So we have to deal with all of those issues. This lead-in is saying that we've only scratched the surface of fixing it, but it has my attention. I have a weekly meeting about workforce training, and with the main people who are responsible for it. I don't do that on any other program, but, well, I do. On homelessness, I do as well, is one other thing. So this is one of the top 3 issues that has my attention every week, and how we're going to really get below the surface in fixing it. But we recognize that charter schools play a big part. Yes.
I have 2 questions. You can choose which one you want to answer.
I can answer both.
The first is if you have any legislative priorities coming out of the executive's office. I've talked to some council members and followed some council members' legislative priorities over the last couple of years related to charter schools. I'm wondering if you, as the new mayor, have any legislative priorities that we can be aware of. The second is, as a charter school leader in Ward 8, my name is Rich Pullman. I'm the executive director of the Marshall Academy. How can we help with some of your activities related to stemming the violence that's happening in the communities we serve at our schools? What sorts of things do we as partnering with the executive's office in trying to solve some of those community-based issues, and how can we be a better service?
Sure. So we have several issues related to the public charter schools. And I think that the task force is helping to organize how we will move forward. It won't be a surprise to anybody here that we have to figure out a way to deal with neighborhood preference issues. And so part of what I asked Jenny to do was to look at how we're going to have a thoughtful consideration of that. I know that some other groups have ruled it out. It's not ruled out in my mind. And so I have asked Jenny to work through that issue and bring back some recommendations, and I'm sure the task force will take that up. Not related to legislation is the matter of the lawsuit that's before us, right? And we need to figure out a way to work that out because basically what we've been challenged with now is the district's autonomy. Should the District of Columbia control its laws and its budget? And it seems like that's the question before the courts, and I don't have to tell you where we will come down on that. So we need to figure out what the issues are that remain and figure out how we can work that out. More than that, on the issue of violence, specifically, what can you do on your buildings? Let me give that some thought. We have before the council now a safer, stronger package that includes changes to the law. It includes more police. It includes jobs and job training. It also includes many grants. So I think that if the first thing I would say is that you can help us with some of the community-based organizations that may have some capacity issues that could be helped by an existing strong organization implement those community grants. All right, thank you.
I wanted to download her resume, and I knew that that would be an embarrassment. Her writings, her publications, the outstanding jobs that she has held for this country, not just for the District of Columbia, are absolutely of legend. And she has been a part of the association for as long as I can remember, and she has served as our vice chair. She is at the Brookings Institution. Brookings is warm. I'm from St. Louis, and that's where the endowment came from, St. Louis, Missouri. And I'd like to thank you for all of your work on behalf of Washington, D.C., and on behalf of charter schools. Alice Rivlin.
Thank you very much, Donald, and thank you, Mayor Bowser and Deputy Mayor Jenny Niles, for really very interesting and thought-provoking remarks that are going to affect everybody in this room for quite a long time. And I will understand if you have to run out. I know you have a big job. I entitled my remarks this morning, Learning to Live with Success. Not only because the charter movement has been so successful in DC, but because I perceive that success is very hard to adjust to. Living with success will mean learning how to participate effectively in the decisions that this city must make if it's to move toward a new vision for education for all the children of DC. And both the mayor and the deputy mayor have spoken about their enthusiasm for cooperation and having a communicative debate about these issues. Now, the motto of the association, as I'm reminded every time I get an email from Ramona, is working to achieve a quality public school education for every child in the nation's capital. But most charter leaders have been too busy getting their own schools up and running and succeeding and fending off the alligators to worry very much about a vision for the whole city. But with success comes the opportunity and the obligation to play on a wider stage. Now, charters began as upstarts and underdogs. Starting a charter was a brave and perhaps foolhardy thing to do. It not only took innovative ideas about education and leadership skills, it took a bit of a scrappy, in-your-face attitude and a lot of persistence and a thick skin to be a charter leader, as many of you in this room can attest. Now, back in the 1990s, which doesn't seem like such a long time ago to somebody my age, when the charter movement was getting rolling, traditional public schools were failing a big portion of the population, especially low-income African-American children in cities. This perception of failure had not always been there. Really on the contrary. Universal public education was widely considered one of America's great strengths. Public schools had been gateways to the middle class for millions of Americans, especially those newly arrived in America or newly arrived in cities. And despite segregation, and that's a big despite, schools were gateways to the middle class for many African Americans, although those gateways were narrow and had a lot of barriers. This legacy of success of public education created a great and long-lasting loyalty to traditional public schools and a nostalgia for those good old days when all the neighborhood children walked together through a safe neighborhood to a neighborhood school. Some of us went to neighborhood schools like that. I did, in a small town in the Middle West. We did walk to school. We walked home to lunch and back. That seems a little weird in these days, and nobody worried about us much. The safety patrol was about 12 years old and waved us across streets with very few cars. But this idealized image of the neighborhood school and the even earlier image of the little red schoolhouse, which we still have on our logos, is like many idealized images of a warmly remembered past. It lives on today, even though the reality did not always live up to the idealized image. And over many decades, as you all know, bad things happened in a lot of big city neighborhoods that undermined this idealized image of the neighborhood school. The growth of suburbs, the automobile culture, redlining, white flight, black middle class flight, declining population, concentrated poverty, deteriorated housing, and boarded up stores and schools, falling tax rolls, crack cocaine and other drugs, all combined to devastate huge areas of major cities and many big city school systems. Affluent areas mostly remained, but much of the middle class was gone. Cities were hollowed out. Schools in big cities were struggling against powerful forces of poverty, neighborhood distress, often fighting losing battles despite heroic efforts of individual teachers, principals, and superintendents. Perhaps as a defense against adversity, traditional school systems adopted rigid rules and succumbed to top-heavy bureaucracies that stifled principals, teachers, and students. In DC, the hollowing out of the city was deep and more prolonged than many other cities. We lost first the white middle class and then the black middle class, and especially we lost parents of school-age children. The population drop numbers are remarkable. We had almost 800,000 people in this city in the early 1960s. By the late 90s, it was down to 567. That is a huge drop, and it stabilized and eventually began growing again. We've gained almost 100,000 people since the bottom. Mayor Williams and I were the ones who coined this idea of the city could grow by 100,000 people. They thought we were crazy. Absolutely crazy. But we're almost there. But the drop in the school population was even more dramatic. It dropped in half from 70,000 students in 2008. This is quite recently. Well, from 149,000 in 1969, it dropped in half to 70,000 in 2008-9, which was quite recently, and has then risen to 85,000, and charters have been a very big part of that growth. Now, this was more extreme than most cities. Many cities began growing again in the 1980s, but the DC population was on a downward path until the late 90s when it stabilized, and finally began to grow again. And the flight of the middle class was also extreme. We became a city sharply divided between a relatively affluent and in some places extremely affluent areas and much whiter areas on the west side, and a much lower income and in some places extremely low income and much blacker areas on the east side. The maps of the city by race and income show a very stark divide. This is true of some cities, but it's really been starker here. Now, paradoxically, I believe that this extreme hollowing out was what made it possible for the charter school movement to be so successful here. Things were so bad that some brave school leaders and some brave parents were willing to try something really new and scary. We didn't have Hurricane Katrina that wrecked New Orleans schools so badly that they had to turn to charters. In D.C., the hollowing out of the city was equivalent to a hurricane. And also, like New Orleans, we had a legacy of segregation in both schools and housing. Podiums are useful. And a heavy concentration of school bureaucracy in which it was hard for new ideas to thrive. Now, admittedly, it helped that a Congress led by conservative Republicans wanted to try choice and competition in education, by which they originally meant vouchers, and used D.C. as their showcase in the fine congressional tradition of acting like a city council for the district, which has not entirely ended. But if the post-hurricane-like conditions had not been there, school entrepreneurs and parents would not have embraced the charter movement in the way they did. The traditional schools were so obviously not working for a big block of children that the city leaders had the courage to try something new. Now, the charter movement, as you all know, had three extremely important beliefs. One was innovation in education was needed, breaking out of the mold, trying new approaches to teaching and learning, freeing school leaders and teachers from bureaucratic rigidity, collecting evidence on how the new approaches were working, and using the evidence to improve what they were doing in the classroom. The second was choice. The idea that parents could choose the right kind of school for their children, and that effective schools with strong leadership would attract parents and students, while weaker ones would lose enrollment and have to improve to stay in the game. And third, and perhaps most important, was that children from low-income families, especially African American and Hispanic children, could succeed in demanding school environments and have successful careers. These were very powerful ideas, and they animated the charter movement. Now, charter pioneers were really brave people, and some of them are in this room. They had to be. They faced the difficulties of getting a charter, finding a building, getting a school charter started, making it work, plus a lot of hostility from those who didn't want charters to succeed. It was hard to get buildings, even though many DCPS schools were shuttered or way underutilized. It was hard to get public services that traditional schools received as a matter of course, even police protection when local toughs roughed up charter students. Funding was notoriously unequal, supplemental appropriations for traditional schools only. The material that goes into the lawsuit amply documents that. I was delighted to hear what the mayor said about working things out. The Charter School Association always wanted to work things out, never wanted to sue the city, but maybe now there's a new chance. And charters were hardly ever at the table when big education decisions were made that affected them, such as the well-intentioned but problematic efforts to mainstream special education students. But this seems also to be changing, and we heard it. We heard it from the highest level just a few minutes ago. We heard the mayor and the deputy mayor talk about efforts to bring the charters into the conversation. And as the mayor pointed out, having this deputy mayor is an evidence of that. Now, all of these roadblocks made starting and growing a charter school seem like an ever-ending obstacle course, the kind you have to survive to get into the military, the special forces in the military. A lot of the obstacles remain, but most of them have gradually mitigated, and it's a new day. The growth and success of the charter movement could not have been predicted 15 or even 10 years ago, or I venture to say even 5. Who would have thought 63 schools, 100 campuses, 44% of the enrollment? The good news for the future of the city is that there are more children in both systems. As total enrollment is growing, people are seeing Washington again as a place to raise their children, even if they have options. Charter schools are very diverse, and the enrollment reflects the city, except it's low on the white and the affluent. Achievement measured by proficiency and by graduation has been very heartening. There's a ways to go, but the charter schools have performed admirably on the average, and the best ones extremely well, and better than the public school system, and better with the most at-risk children, which is the most heartening thing of all. And the most successful schools, measured by proficiency and graduation rates and other things, are the ones that are growing. The skeptics of choice said that parents, especially parents with low income and little education themselves, wouldn't be able to choose good schools for their children. But they were wrong. Parents can choose, and they choose well. And the system is being recognized in national studies, and here we are in a very different situation in DC. I stress the victories against heavy odds because I think it explains what is still the attitude of the underdog and the pioneer that permeates the charter movement. I think the successes have been cause for celebration, but the difficult part is learning to act like winners and face the responsibilities that go with success. The citizens of the district and their elected leaders face some really strategic decisions about the shape and the structure and the priorities of the education system for the city going forward. The charter movement is now in the somewhat uncomfortable position of being in the winner's circle, which means helping to think through the choices that face the city with respect to public education and playing a big role, along with the traditional public schools, in helping decide what to do. You are the successful leaders with potential political power, parents, teachers, principals, and staff associated with nearly half the students in the public system in the city can hardly be ignored if they want to be heard. Most important, you have the energy and the momentum that goes with having succeeded against all obstacles. That makes you natural leaders in the next phase of achieving more effective schools for all students in the District of Columbia. The new role will be hard, and as I listen to charter school leaders, and I do often, I am sometimes amazed at how beleaguered they still feel, as though the whole enterprise were still under fire and might collapse at any moment. You're very used to clawing your way up, to fighting off threats. And I'm not saying that all the threats have gone away, but it's time to get out of the defensive crouch, to stand tall and to act like the winning team that you actually are. So what are these strategic decisions that the system faces? Let me start with two that are not on my list. One is funding equalization. I believe that battle is close to over, and it will be won by the forces of equal funding, either in the courts or in the political arena. And as I said, I was very heartened to hear what the mayor said. The other is calling a halt to new charters. I think that's a policy without inherent appeal. It smacks of closing out promising new ideas, and nobody wants to do that. So what are the issues? I think there are two much harder ones. One is the advantage of choice versus the ideal of the neighborhood school. This is a situation in which two very appealing concepts collide. The idea of a good school in every neighborhood, drawing on neighborhood kids, providing certainty and continuity for parents, and inviting community support, that is a very appealing idea. So is the idea of choice, of special approaches, of emphasizing particular aspects of education or approaches to education, of language emphasis, of science emphasis, of the arts. And so is the appeal to many parents of getting the kid out of the neighborhood, away from the gangs and negative peer pressure. So these are two quite appealing concepts that will be worked out, and the mayor alluded to this, over time. Compromises will be necessary, age differences matter, and the charter movement will have to be at the table talking about how do we reconcile these two appealing concepts. The other issue, I think, is how to measure and foster quality education and student achievements. We all await the new test scores, but everybody in this room believes that test scores aren't everything, and that there are big dangers of overemphasizing them. But the hard part is constructing alternative measures of quality. There are so many intangibles, and you all know more about this than I do. There will be venues for debating these issues. The cross-sector task force has already been discussed, and I was very heartened by what both the mayor and Jenny said about it. And if there are not venues for debating these subjects, I think the charter movement should create them, should talk among ourselves about what we think, and reach out to the rest of the system to talk about it. And we need an organization that speaks for charters, that has a membership organization made up of the charter schools themselves. to help in this cooperation, to advocate for the charter position, and to be in the leadership as this big debate unfolds. Well, we've got one. This is the annual meeting of the Charter School Association, but it needs more support. You're here because you support. This is preaching to the choir. But the responsibility of those of you who understand how important it is to have a voice for the charters and a venue for leadership and debating issues about the future of the charter movement and of the schools in the district need to reach out to others, to bring in the full panoply of charter schools into membership in the association, and to help supplement the resources. Ramona is a great leader, but she can't do it all herself. Ramona needs some people working with her. The board is a group of hardworking people also, but they can't do it alone. The resources of the association are limited, the membership is limited, and that's what needs to change if the association is going to play, if the charter school movement is going to play an important role in these debates and discussions about the future of public education in the district that the mayor and the deputy mayor have so articulately opened the door to. Thank you.